All right, so let's jump into more Beth and Daryl and Team Delusional questions. I was watching the teaser trailer for Book of Carol, which is season 2 of Daryl Dixon, and noticed this guy between Falu and Issa, she's behind Daryl, and thought maybe he could be Dr. Edwards, except he doesn't have the glasses. Maybe the CRM gave him LASIK, lol. It's possible. I don't know. So here's my thing. He does kind of look like him. It's hard to tell from this picture, but I don't think that if Dr. Edwards were coming back in this season, I don't think they would show him on the trailer. Like, they wouldn't mess with that at all, because it would be people freaking out and saying, oh my gosh, he's back, and you know what I mean? I just don't think that they would actually show him. So I wouldn't think that that is him just because of that, but I agree that it does look like him. And even if it's really not him, that doesn't mean that they aren't hinting at something. Like, I do believe that in the past they sometimes choose actors based on how much they look like somebody else because they're trying to do a symbolic thing. So very well could be that they purposely chose someone who looked like Eric Jensen, but I would be really surprised if that was actually him and they actually showed him in any kind of trailer or leaked photo or anything like that. I think they're really careful not to do that. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see overall. All right, next one. Sorry, I just jumped back on the TD train and I've already sent a couple of questions, so apologies if I'm overloading with questions. No, you're not. Back in the day, I noticed and even asked another blog about the guinea pig meal and how it was an odd choice. Guinea pigs aren't exactly an easy animal to get unless the local pet store was still up and running, so why exactly guinea pig? I wondered if it's an on-the-nose reference to the people at Grady being tested on. Wanted to know your thoughts on it. Yeah, I've actually seen quite a few theories about the guinea pig because you're right, it's a really random thing for them to be eating. I don't even know why the hospital would have them, unless it really was that they were doing experiments on guinea pigs, which they may have been. Animal testing is a thing, especially when it comes to medicines, and you know, that's why the hospital had them. But yeah, I mean, they still had to have a reason why they chose to show them eating that particular kind of animal. I know that people have looked up symbolism before and different countries that actually do eat guinea pig as a staple, and they've come up with some interesting theories that I think, you know, very well could be valid. But overall, I think that, yeah, what you say here is probably the most obvious reason, because he even has Beth eat it. It's not just a mention or something we see in the background, which maybe suggests that she's a guinea pig at Grady, and that would actually line up really well with our bite cure theories, that maybe they were experimenting on her, maybe she did survive a bite, you know, that sort of thing. So we don't really know. There's nothing, like I said, even though we've looked up symbolism and history and cultural things concerning guinea pigs, there's not anything that really jumps out at me. Like, usually I'll be looking something up and then I'll like hit on something and I'll be like, that's it. That's what it is right there, you know? And I just feel really sure that that's probably what they were going for. And with most of the symbolism and theories I've heard around guinea pigs, nothing's really jumped out at me like that. So I think that's why I think that the biggest reason is probably what you're saying here, that it's a hint to what was going on at Grady that we didn't see, but they're, you know, it's kind of like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of thing where like they're trying to get us to see it and they're just not being super obvious about it. So that's an excellent question. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm hoping Beth gets her own spinoff, catching her up to the current timeline once we get to see of the missing footage EK has filmed over the years, especially the missing 17 days. It'll be really nice to see some old cast of TF again, like Glenn, Abraham, Rosita, Sasha, Tyrese, and Carl. How do you feel about it? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know that she would, just depending on what they do with the Daryl spinoff, I don't know that she would necessarily need her own spinoff. I can see them weaving it into the Daryl spinoff. But I mean, I wouldn't mind, certainly, if she got her own spinoff as well. I think that they're going to go through her journey, her past that we haven't seen pretty quickly. I mean, there's the missing 17 days, of course, but after that, I don't know that she would need an entire spinoff to do all of that. And hey, I could be wrong. Like I said, more than happy to be wrong about that. But I think that they'll also be kind of weaving it in a little at a time as we go forward. So they won't necessarily need to tell the entire thing. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. And I do feel you about the other cast members. I want to see the missing 17 days, obviously, mostly because of Beth and Daryl. But it'll also be fun again to see Yeah, Glenn, especially Abraham, Sasha, people who have died, and see them because I do believe everything was filmed back then, so they will be, as they were in season 5, in their season 5 clothing and their season 5 weapons and their season 5 hairdos, but that's because it actually was filmed back then, so it's not the actors having to dress up like they did in season 5. They already filmed that, and so that'll be really, really fun to see, so I agree. And it'll just be exciting to see, how they end up telling her story. Do you remember how distant and moody Carl seemed when Tia first arrived at Alexandria? Do you think it has something to do with Beth? She was presumably the only one to reach out and connect with him about deceased parents from one of the deleted scenes of season 3. She was probably like a big sister to him. Yeah, I think everybody was dealing with what happened when they came to Alexandria in their own way. The whole thing was just super messed up. And you got to remember, too, that there was not that much time that passed between season 4 and when they reached Alexandria. Obviously, it took a while for us to see all of that because of the way that the episodes came out. But chronologically is what I keep trying to say. It was several weeks, but I don't think it was months between when they were all happy at the prison and then the prison fell and Herschel died and a lot of other people died. They lost their homes. They all got split up. Some of them came back together. Then when it seemed like things were going pretty well, people started dying left, right, and center. They lost Beth. They lost Tyrese. You know what I mean? It was such a messed up time period. And I think that what happened during the 17 days will even shed more light on how messed up it was. And yeah, I do think that Carl would have been sad to lose Beth. We didn't see them being super, super close in the show, but sure. They would have been sad to lose anybody. And like you said, there was the deleted scenes from season 3. And I think just not only that they lost people, for Carl, even Tyrese, and again, we're not seeing him being super close to Tyrese, but Tyrese was taking care of Judith. And then after they lost him, we see Carl taking care of Judith. So obviously that was going to affect him in a big way. Anyway, but I think it's not only losing people that they cared about, which is obviously a huge thing, but it was losing their home, and then it was watching other people react to that loss, because Carl gave Maggie the music box. I think that's a big deal. So whatever happened during the missing 17 days, not only would he have been sad about Beth, but he saw Maggie lose Beth, and he is close to Maggie too. And so he understands how sad she is over it. And, when you have family members that you care about, their loss is your loss and you feel their pain. So I think it was everything. But yeah, definitely that would have been a big, big part of it, her loss. And yeah, I think that was a lot of him being really surly like he was. And the same with Daryl. So yeah, I think that's a really good observation. So thanks for that. Once Beth reveal happens, I'm going to miss going to your page and reading your theories each time after the episode airs. I've been doing it for years, since Coda, to the point where it became a normal routine for me. Will you keep doing your theories revolving Beth after her reveal? I really hope you do. Your page and what you do for the fandom has a really positive and massive impact on my personal life. Oh, thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, I will keep doing it. I enjoy doing it. And once she returns, I think we're still going to have the CRM war, and I think they'll still be using all their same symbolism to show us what's going on. So, I just like talking about the show because I like to geek out about it. So yes, I will keep doing it. As long as you guys are going to keep listening and you want me to do it, I will keep doing it. But I've always done it, honestly, mostly for myself, just because I love it and it's a fun hobby for me. So yes, I'm really glad that you're getting something out of it and that you like it. And yes, the answer is I will keep doing it. So thank you. Hi, I'm a little confused. I've seen a little drama happening regarding Norman and the podcast he did lately, where he called out toxic fans about Angela Kang being replaced by Zabel. I had to look it up, and Angela still seems to be the executive producer, just not the showrunner, but I've seen the dark ship claiming she was fired by AMC. I don't know what's going on. LOL, and they're so angry about how Norman called out toxic fans, but they've been the only ones yapping about how disrespectful it was. I see where the shoe is fitting, though. Okay, so for anybody who has not seen this, Norman did give an interview to a podcast, and I will put it up on the screen here. I had it sent to me by a couple of different people, so thank you for doing that, those who sent it to me. Yeah, it's kind of a funny... it's really kind of entertaining to listen to. There's not a whole lot about, Beth or Team Delusional or anything that was like a real smoking gun for us in it, but it's still worth listening to. They talk a lot about Norman's career and his parts he's played, and then they go into music a lot because he's kind of big into music as well. And you'll hear some stories that he's heard, that he's told before, that kind of tells his staples, his stories that he always tells. But he talks about the fans online, and he talks about the ones who just like to bitch about things. And he does this whiny little mimic of these people online, and I was just laughing listening to it. Like, it was really funny. So I'll just say what I told my fellow theorists about it, and that is that anybody who is being a troll online could technically be those fans. We can't necessarily, for all of what he said, point to the carolers, but there is one line in particular that he says that cannot be anybody but them. He talks about how there are certain fans online who want him in real life to be married to this other actress in real life when there is nothing between them that is romantic in real life. And, as far as I'm aware, none of the Donniers have ever demanded that Norman and Lauren Ridloff date. None of the Darzita-ers has ever demanded that, Norman and Christian date. Like, that's really only a Carol thing. I will say that there were some people back in the day that were a little bit over the top about Norman and Emily, and people, as you have all seen, I still get questions about whether they dated. Like I said, I don't think they did. I could be wrong. You're welcome to have your own opinion about that. But, there were unfortunately, some people back in the day who did want the two of them to be together to the point where they were probably annoying him. But like I said, they really haven't been active in a lot of years. And what I've kind of seen is that the people who were the most over the top about Norman and Emily, they a lot of the times weren't even Bethylers or TDers. I mean, maybe a little bit Bethylers, and that's where it came from, but they got to be so over the top about the real life stuff that they didn't seem like they cared about the show anymore. The people who were actually, being trolly about it online. So anyway, just my observation. But right now, in this moment, I don't see much about Normally anymore because it's been so long since they really did anything together, in the public eye. So I'm pretty sure when he says that, he's talking about the dark ship. And you're right that it's funny that even though he didn't mention any names, he didn't mention Melissa, he didn't mention any particular fans, they just automatically know it's about them, and that's why they're mad and saying that he was disrespectful. Like, notice how no other ships are going, wow, he was insulting us. We feel so offended. Like, they're the only ones saying that because they know he was talking about them. Anyway, so yeah, I mostly just found it to be quite entertaining, and I had a good laugh about it. And I don't blame him. I mean, people can say he's being mean, but you know what? As much crap as they give everybody to do with the show, him and all of the writers and all the producers and AMC, and you get sick of it after a while and you start to fight back. I mean, I don't blame him at all for putting that out there because he's just sick of it. I think he's sick of that. He's sick of the hate that Melissa has gotten. He's sick of being told, like I talked about in an earlier Ask, that he's just some straight white guy who pushed Melissa out. Him and Melissa are practically best friends in real life, and he sticks up for her, and we've seen him stick up for her, and she does the same for him. And so that's really insulting to their friendship and to the good working relationship they have to say stuff like that, so I don't blame him for kind of firing back a little bit. And he even mentions in the interview that they give Diane, his real life girlfriend, crap about it, and that sucks. I mean, she has nothing to do with it, and people are giving her hate online because they want her to break up with her boyfriend that she's in love with and has a child with so that he can go marry someone else that he's not interested in and who is not interested in him. I mean, it's ridiculous and it's childish, and these are real people with real lives, and people need to leave them alone. So yeah, like I said, I thought the interview was funny, and good for him for finally putting something like that out there. And I love your comment about the shoe, how the shoe fits. Yes, most definitely. And no, the thing about Angela Kang being replaced by Zabel is not true. Again, I have no idea if I'm saying his name right, and I'm sorry if I'm not. this is very similar to what happened with Gimple when Gimple became the chief content officer. I cannot tell you how many people I had to argue with online, and I just ended up getting offline because I couldn't stand it anymore for a few days, because they kept telling me that Gimple was fired. And it says right there in the press release in black and white, he has been promoted to chief content officer. So I'm going, how do you take that and assume that it means he was fired? And they're saying, well, they're just lying. They're just covering things up. He really was fired. Clearly they were wrong, because he's still working for AMC and he is overseeing all of the TWD universe. So it is exactly what they said it would be. I don't know. It's just people having kind of weird little conspiracy theories about things. And I'm not even totally against conspiracy theories. I mean, let's face it, Team Delusional is kind of one great big conspiracy theory, so I get it. But in this case, there's no evidence to back it up. And you know, the same thing happened with Angela King. If she's Gimple's right-hand person, then when he became chief content officer, she took over the daily running of the flagship show. Well, now it's expanding again. So he needs her to be running more stuff, which means they have to turn over the running of, you know, whatever show, the day-to-day show running stuff to somebody else, you know. And I think Isabel has done a great job. I mean, the Daryl Dixon spinoff was a triumph. You know, it has wonderful ratings and it was really beautifully filmed and I loved everything about it. And, you know, so to say, oh, she was fired in favor of this guy, I mean, where are you getting that from? She's still working under Gimple, you know, so you just got to ignore them. They come up with the most random things and they can't back them up, and they're obviously not correct about that. So, no, Angela King is still working. She is still part of AMC as far as I know, and I don't think she's going anywhere anytime soon, because her and Gimple work really well together, and they're a big part. They're really the team that runs everything in the TWD universe. And because it's expanding, they're constantly having to do more stuff and getting more work and more responsibilities. So of course they have to delegate out other things, or nothing's ever going to get done. It's called running a business. And unfortunately, the most toxic people online, they have a lot of time to be online and be toxic because they don't have a whole lot of other stuff to do with their time. And there might be many reasons for that. I'm not trying to be judgy about that, but it's very clear that most of them know nothing about how to run a business. And if they did, they wouldn't come up with these ridiculous ideas about how, you know, if Gimple hadn't been fired, he would still be the showrunner. No, no. The way the show is expanding, that's like saying that the CEO of a company that owns restaurants should be the person at the counter. No. He's got bigger fish to fry, okay? There's a difference between running an entire, you know, entity of a business and being the person who's on the ground doing the day-to-day activities. You have to have different people in those roles, or the company's never going to expand, okay? And that's all we're seeing here is the expansion of the universe, and the people that are the most important are at the top, so they're not going to be doing the day-to-day activities. But when Angela King kind of disappears from view because she's not the showrunner anymore, people are just automatically assuming that she's been fired, and nothing could be further from the truth. So I hope that helps. Okay, I'll call it there for today, and I will be back with more tomorrow. Bye.